Jacob Brenner never heard the intruder approach. One moment he was reaching for the coffee pot beside his campfire, and the next, a rifle barrel chilled the skin just behind his ear. He froze. The flames crackled quietly, the only sound in an otherwise breathless night. A voice whispered behind him, calm and deliberate. "Don't move, white man." Jacob kept his gaze on the fire. Whoever held the rifle wasn't nervous. Each breath behind him was slow, measured. This was a person who had survived long enough to know exactly how to handle fear. "I'm not armed," Jacob said quietly, my gun still in the saddlebag. "I know," the stranger replied. "I saw you unpack." A shiver ran down Jacob's spine. He had picked this campsite because it gave him clear views in nearly every direction. An open creek bend, cottonwoods rustling just enough to mask natural sounds. Yet someone had been watching him closely, without disturbing a leaf. "What do you want?" Jacob asked. The pressure at his temple eased. "Turn around," slowly. Jacob did as told, raising his hands slightly as he pivoted. Then he saw her. She stood several paces away, rifle steady, posture unshaken. Apache, by her dress, her braids adorned with turquoise, and her soft-footed moccasins. But it was her eyes that caught him hardest, one a warm, deep brown, the other a sharp winter blue, heterochromia. It made her expression striking and unreadable at once. "You're alone," she said, not questioning but stating fact. "Yes," Jacob answered. "No soldiers, just me." She studied him with a focus that made him feel transparent. Then she spoke again, voice flat but carrying something hollow beneath. "3 days ago the cavalry burned my family's camp. They killed my father. My mother and sister were taken to Fort Thomas. I escaped. They're hunting me." Jacob swallowed. "I'm not a scout. I'm nobody. Used to ranch cattle until the bank took my land. Now I'm heading somewhere. Where? Haven't figured that out yet." She lowered the rifle slowly. "I am called Nalinah, she who walks between. My people say my eyes mean I live between worlds." Jacob felt a faint ache of recognition. Loneliness recognized loneliness. "The fire's warm," he said gently, "and the coffee's fresh. You're welcome to both." After a long moment of weighing her choices, she nodded. They sat across from each other as twilight deepened. Jacob offered her a tin cup, and she wrapped her hands around it before taking a sip. When he apologized for asking about her family, she surprised him by answering anyway. Her father had refused to leave their ancestral land. A treaty long ignored had promised it to them. His refusal cost him his life. Jacob understood broken promises. The world was full of them. "What about you?" she asked. "Why are you nobody?" So he told her about the ranch, his brother's mistakes, the foreclosure, the grave he left behind. When he finished, she nodded once. Their conversation turned practical. North meant refuge, south meant soldiers. "Travel with me," she said simply. "If they see us together, they'll hesitate to shoot a white man's traveling partner." "Time to run, then?" Jacob asked. "Yes." It wasn't heroism that made him agree. It was purpose, something he hadn't felt in months. They broke camp before sunrise. Nalinah led the way with sharp eyes, reading faint tracks that Jacob couldn't see. When they reached a ridgeline overlooking a small frontier town, she hesitated. "We can circle around," Jacob said, "or risk the town for supplies." "If we go through," she said, "I must be your wife. Anything else invites danger." He disliked the thought, but she was right. They entered the settlement, playing their parts. Suspicion hung in the air, especially from the storekeeper and the deputy who entered soon after. The deputy had heard rumors of a fugitive Apache woman with mismatched eyes. Nalinah stepped forward into a shaft of sunlight and lifted her chin. "Look well," she said. "Now you see her." Courage unsettled every man in the room. "Got papers for her?" the deputy asked. "At camp," Jacob replied without flinching. A tense standoff followed, until the deputy relented and told them to leave town immediately. Outside, on the trail north, Nalinah finally said, "Thank you. for not handing me over. $50 isn't enough to sell a person, Jacob answered. Not you. Something softened in her expression. Days later, in the high country, they camped near a cold stream. Nalinah confessed she didn't know where true safety lay anymore. Jacob told her his brother once believed that if the game was rigged, a man needed to change the rules. And how did that work for him? She asked. Not great, Jacob admitted. She almost smiled. They spoke of darkness, survival, and the thin line between hope and despair. You don't have to stay in the dark, Jacob said softly. Maybe that's why we met, she replied. To remember there is more than fear. That night the distance between them felt smaller, not lovers, something quieter, steadier, trust. At dawn, Jacob awoke to find her standing at the tree line, feeling the cold morning air as if reclaiming the world through her senses. She wasn't preparing to die, she was choosing to keep living. They rode north again, into land untouched and untamed. Behind them lay a world of broken promises. Ahead stretched something fragile and unclaimed, a future they would shape together. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.